What is going on, guys? So my name is Colby, and as most of you know, I am a big mental health advocate, and I have my clothing business. It's called Soothe, which is for mental health awareness, and I donate 10%. And then I have these videos and my posts on Instagram and Twitter, and so basically I have all these mental health advocacy things, and I don't ever tell my story and why mental health is such a big part of my life. And so I kind of just want to map out my mental health life, my life with mental health, and what has happened in my life. So basically I've had mental health problems my whole life. Like I was always a class clown. I had ADHD. I used to take medicine for it, and then medicine never really was a good option for me in all my mental health situations. So I have ADHD, I had anxiety when I was younger. It was pretty bad, depressed in middle school, and then I got to high school. I was working out a lot. I had a lot of friends. I started to get super good mentally, and I was hanging out with all the good people, and I was just having a good time, and just in a happy fashion. I felt good about myself. And so my sophomore year, so before I talk about this, my dad and my mom were divorced, and my dad lived in New Hampshire and I lived in Arizona. I moved to Arizona from Vermont when I was about 11, and so I lived in Arizona. My dad lived in New Hampshire, and he would visit me twice a year for 2 weeks at a time. So once for my birthday in July, and then once for Christmas. And so my sophomore year, during Christmas break, my dad was out here, and so I was with him. He was an alcoholic and a prescription painkiller addict, and so that was hard on my whole family and on him, obviously, on his life and just the things that it did to his life. And so I would spend time with him for 2 weeks at a time. And so this time, my sophomore year, he was out here. I got a call from my grandpa and found out that he had stage 4 pancreatic cancer, which is lethal. It's the worst cancer. It's fatal. And so basically I was devastated because my grandpa was essentially my role model. He was my father figure in place of my dad, because my grandpa I lived with my grandpa for a while, actually, and we would always spend time together and go to the gym every day, and he was just my best friend and my role model. And so when I found this out, I was devastated. I just cried a bunch, but I knew he's strong, he'll pull through. And then he continuously just got worse and got skinny, and it was just draining him, and we had to put food through his tubes. He couldn't eat because the cancer was moving up to his esophagus and just squishing his esophagus, so he couldn't eat. And it was just so hard for me and my whole family to watch this strong, funny, humorous, full of life man just go from amazing and healthy to just unhealthy and sick and bone and can't eat. And he still had his positivity and still his humor, and it was amazing to see how positive he stayed through this whole process. But it was definitely hard, and we could tell. And 6 months after he was diagnosed, I went off to church camp, and while I was at church camp, he decided that he wanted to go off life support because he was in the spot where he couldn't even breathe. He had a tube down his throat, and he was like, I just need to not be on life support anymore, and God will take me away. And so I got home from church camp. I had not known about this when he decided, and I got home, and my mom told me in the car. We went straight from the church right to the hospital. My mom told me in the car, and I was just crying a ton. But so I got to the hospital. He gave me his ring and his cross necklace, and he basically just said that he loves me, and it was hard for him to talk, and so but he could still make out words, and so we could understand because we had been hearing him and trying to pay attention to his words for a while in the past. So so he passed away that night. I was actually holding his hand as he took his last breath, which was really hard because we were able to be in the room when he was passing away. And so My dad came out soon after, because this was in June that he passed away, and then my dad comes out for my birthday. And so my dad was in July, he came out, spent time with him for 2 weeks, which was nice. I was still grieving. Like, I lost my best friend and my role model, and so I decided, so I went to school, I went back to school for my junior year, having a good year. I was still grieving, still sad, but I was fine. I was grieving in appropriate ways. On September 15th of my junior year, so 3 months after my grandpa passed away, 3 or 4 months, I got a call from my grandma who my dad lived with, and she told me that my dad had passed away, and he used to call me every night and would leave me messages and it'd be like, hey, Bugaboo. He called me Bugaboo, it's funny. But I still have his voicemails on my phone. But he passed away in the middle of the night unexpectedly. My grandma found him on the floor in her kitchen. And she called me and told me, and I tried going to school the next day because my mom and I'm kind of a social butterfly, and I am most comfortable and confident and happy around my friends and my peers, around other people. And so my mom said, you should probably go to school because you'll be around your friends and you'll be distracted. And so I went to school. Oh my God, I was just like, I just stared into the sky. Like, I couldn't think about anything. And then I just started, like, I had to leave every class, go to the bathroom and just cry. But it was a rough time, obviously. And after that, I was just like devastated because I couldn't, like, I lost both the father figures in my life. Like, I had a stepdad, but he doesn't talk much ever, and like we're fine, like we're close, but like we don't talk. Like, he's not a person I would go to just talk about something. And so, but my dad and my grandpa were, and so I obviously was having a hard time and depressed and anxious, and I didn't really know what to do in my life. Like, I'm a junior in high school and I'm losing the two of the most important people in my life, and I was like, I don't really know what to do. And so I just decided to go hang out with my friends as much as possible so I could get distracted. Like, obviously I had a couple weeks where I just stayed home. I didn't want to go out at all, but I would go out with my friends all the time, and it got to the point where I was like, I couldn't be home or else I'd be sad, like super sad and like depressed, and I would just go out again. And so I couldn't, like, it was just hard for me to stay home alone because that's when I would get the worst emotional feelings, and obviously that's gonna happen when you are grieving, and I didn't realize this. And so I would just go out and just try to get all my cares, and I would just try to distract myself. And so I started hanging out with just different people. I would always, like, I just had a bunch of different groups I'd hang out with, and some of them were not the best people to hang out with, some of them were amazing people to hang out with, and I ended up hanging out with these people that just partied a lot. And so I started partying, drinking, and I got into vaping. I was super addicted to nicotine because nicotine gives you that, like, sense of relaxation, and you don't have, like, cares, like, you don't think about the problems in your life. And so with all these problems and all my sadness and, like, thoughts, I just was like, I need to vape, like, 24/7. So I just got super addicted to nicotine, and then I started smoking weed, which, like, it's not addictive. It's not an addictive compound, but the feeling can be addictive, and I was definitely addicted to the feeling of being high and not having to deal with thinking about these sad emotions and sad thoughts that had come into my life and that I thought about on a daily basis. And so it got to the point where I was like, if I ever started feeling sad, I would either hit the vape or text my friend, let's go smoke. And so that is not good for someone that is needing to grieve and deal with mental health appropriately. Dealing with mental health, if you block it all out, it's just gonna build up, and eventually it's gonna, like, explode. And so I was drinking a ton of caffeine because I was always out. I was sneaking out every night. I was disobeying my mom. I was like, I was like a troublemaker. I was like the troublemaker. And so the definition of a troublemaker, like with the law, I was like, screw the law, like who cares? Like, but I just wouldn't sleep. I would drink a bunch of caffeine, go out all the time, party, drink, smoke, vape, and this just got to the point where I was unable to deal with emotions. Obviously, I was like numb to my emotions, and just when I would start feeling some way, just hit it. And so there's one night I was with my buddies. We were in the car. We were vaping. They were about to smoke. I still had morals. Like I didn't smoke every single day, but I did vape all the time. Smoking made me less motivated, and I've always been the kind of person where I need to do something with my life. And so, but I basically was hitting my friend's vape, and I started feeling super weird, and like I just started feeling super out of it, and I was like, I don't know where I am. Like I started losing where I was, and I thought that he had something in his vape, and he probably did, to be honest. But that was like another traumatic event that just really set me off, and so that's when my panic attack started. I was anxious and depressed before because like I was suppressing all these emotions, but like when I wasn't on weed, I was like drained and depressed and like, well, Dad, Papa, like where are you? But I hit his vape, and then I was driving, and then for 2 hours later I was feeling better. I wasn't still off, like I didn't feel normal. And so when I was done hanging out with them, I went home. I was driving home, and I was like super dizzy. I was like, what's going on with me? And I didn't know what was happening. And so I got home. I was like, Mom. I was like crying because I was like, Mom, something's wrong. Like I don't feel normal. I'm dizzy. I just feel strange. And she said, just sleep it off, and you'll feel better in the morning. I woke up. I did not feel better. I couldn't drive to school without getting super dizzy and like scared. And driving was just so hard for me after that, and because I thought that like I would just lose control while I was driving, and it was scary. And I stopped smoking, I stopped vaping, I stopped everything right after this moment, and right after I was like, I don't know what's going on with me, and I don't want to feel this way. And so I started looking at symptoms and what was happening, and I was self-diagnosing myself, and that stressed me out so much because I was like, I thought I had a brain tumor for a while, and like just stupid things that I shouldn't have been doing, self-diagnosing myself, because that just stresses you out. But we had no idea what it was, and so I was like trying to figure it out, and it's just not good to self-diagnose yourself, obviously. And that just continuously made it worse and worse and worse, and it got to the point where I couldn't eat anything without thinking that something was in it and getting panic attack, or drinking anything. Like even now, like if I drink a water bottle and I put it down, like I won't drink it because I'll get scared. I've been getting better the past couple weeks, actually. I'll drink some of my water, put it in the fridge, and I'll drink it again. But before, I would have thrown it out. I actually just emptied out like 10 water bottles that were in there because I wouldn't drink them again. But even with food, even with packaged food, it was crazy. Now I'm a lot better. I'm a lot better now. Since I got to college, I've been working on myself, researching a lot about mental health. But yeah, so my high school, I didn't even go to prom because I couldn't drive there, and I didn't want to be with these people that could do this to me again. And so I essentially just secluded myself from everybody and just stayed home, and it got to the point where also I couldn't even leave my house I couldn't even walk 3 feet out of my house without feeling a sense of doom and anxiety and scared, and like it was so bad. And so I found out that I had a mental illness. I was depressed, anxious. My psychiatrist diagnosed me with major depressive disorder, but I did not have major depressive disorder. That's the kind of disorder where you can't even get out of bed because you're just numb to your body, and like you just can't move. And so when I got to college, I started learning a ton. I was getting so much better, and I was able to drive again, and I felt better, and then it started getting worse again, but now it's getting better. Like it'll relapse, but after the relapse, you'll start feeling even better than before. And so eventually it'll start moving up, and I'm just keeping positive that I will feel better. I thank you guys so much for watching, and if you want, you can like, comment, share, subscribe. DM me personally. I'll talk to you if you need to talk to someone that's dealt with it. God bless.
Don't worry.